Hey, what's up, everybody? Matt Chilleri here today for another interview with a client on our platform. So again, my name is Matt. I am one of the co-founders of Life Agent Launch, and today I have the privilege of chatting with Tori Haskell, who has been a client of ours on our lead platform for quite some time. So Tori, first and foremost, thanks so much for taking a few minutes today to hop on the call and chat. Excited to have you on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for asking me to be here. Happy to help, guys.
Awesome, awesome. So Tori, I like to start these kind of conversations with just a little backstory kind of on you. So tell me a little bit about kind of, how long you've been in the insurance game and kind of in the industry and what your history is in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I've been in the insurance industry for a little over 3 years now. When I started, I didn't know leads were a thing. I was doing supplemental insurance, actually about 7 months pregnant with my son,
Oh
going
wow.
business to business, cold
I
calling.
didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah, just totally cold calling businesses. And so that was, my avenue out of the dealership that I was selling cars at. And I said, I'm just going to take the leap of faith and try this out. And I hated it. I was like crying in my car. Like it was the worst thing ever. I just hated going and feeling like I was bothering people and like feeling so invasive. And so the person I was working with, my mentor at the time, was like, "Hey, so I think we might shift gears. Like, there's this life insurance gig where you can just go and you can buy leads. Like, that's it's that simple. You just buy leads to talk to people. You go and see them, help them with the insurance. Bada bing, bada boom, right?" So it sounded great coming from where I was. I'm like, yes, absolutely. I'd love to buy leads. Just take my money at that point. Literally, just take my money. And so that's what we did. We got set up with the first IMO, and then we started throwing money at leads, and we were definitely successful. I'm still here, but things have definitely changed a lot. Yeah, but
All
that's
right.
kind
So
of a
when
quick
you so
run
when you
through.
got started in life insurance, were you primarily running in the field? Were you doing virtual sales? Like what did it look like as far as kind of how you were running business?
Yeah, I was running 100% in the field. When I joined and did life insurance, I had actually found a few people on YouTube who had mentioned, "Oh yeah, we do virtual sales or over the phone." And I had pitched that to my team, like this is perfect. Like we're coming out of a pandemic, like this is perfectly aligning with where we're headed as like an economy. And it was kind of like laughed at the time to do virtual sales. So no, I did 100% face to face.
All right, so you were all in the field, running 100%, face to face. What were your lead sources? I mean, as far as like what type of leads were you running at that point in time, and really, what did it look like from a standpoint of not only what was your like kind of lead expense and your outlay for your leads, but what was the experience kind of working the leads, and talk to me about what that looked like from a not only a money investment standpoint, but a time investment standpoint, and maybe how that impacted your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So to start, the leads that we started working to begin with were instant internet life leads, supposedly exclusive online leads that were generated, geared towards people looking for just general life insurance quotes. And so those were definitely not exclusive leads, but we worked them. We made money, we made it happen. But the time that we put in as new agents and the amount of calling that we did and the amount of driving around we did, it was a lot. And you weren't going to make it through that ringer unless you had a lot of bandwidth to do so. And so we made it happen, but it was definitely not fun.
Got
Lots
it.
of
So probably I'm guessing probably might similar to an experience that I've had and that a lot of agents have had. Really long dial days, people being told they've been called, 10 times already, and just really having to grind it out to be able to write the business that you needed to write. Not saying that it couldn't be done, but it was just a massive investment in terms of time. And then, I mean, I know when I used to run the field, heck, I mean, there's days, you leave the house at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, you're not getting home until 9 o'clock at night. And
yeah.
so just a lot of time investment to be able to really write the business that you wanted to write. Okay. You had said to me, you mentioned earlier, prior, before we hopped on the call, you sent over some of your numbers. So it's not like you weren't successful. I mean, you said on average spending around $4,000 a month in leads. And you were in a position where, those leads were running, you said a lot in the field. But the big challenge being the fact that, just the time investment and then the ancillary costs as far as like travel costs, gas, being away from your family. When did you make the transition to doing virtual sales?
I'd say it was about a year and a half in, right after Christmas time. So it would come up in January, and I had just kind of thrown in the towel on being no show, driving around, just like the whole shebang that I was working on at that time. And so I said, all right, I'm going to do this. I don't care what anyone says. Like, I'm going to figure it out. And so I started doing Zoom sales, and that's kind of how I got into virtual sales. And I did that for about, I'd say, 6 months until I finally just said, let's just do this over the phone. And so
Got it. Okay. Well,
everything.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it looks like, we talk with a lot of agents. I mean, you were in a pretty solid spot. I mean, you said, before we chatted, right in 15 to 25K a month. So we'll just say an average of like 20 off of, 4 to 5 grand a month in spend. I mean, you're putting down a good, you said your persistency's always been pretty good. So, putting down a solid, net profit in the neighborhood of 15 to $16,000 a month. A lot of agents would be happy with that. What would you say motivated you? I mean, you're, like I said, in a pretty solid position, right? In some good business, making some money. What was it that really motivated you to start looking at other sources or other avenues in terms of leads? I mean, was it something where you just wanted more control over your time? Was it something where you were just hoping to become more profitable? Like what was it that motivated you to start kind of exploring other options and ultimately end up working with us?
Yeah, I think it was a couple of things that were just weighing on me personally and some others in the industry that I'm, close with that also do the same exact thing. And it was a matter of looking at what we were doing and being grateful for the opportunity, but just knowing that it could be better. That, there's bottlenecks to this. There was, kinks in our businesses, like just things that we wanted to improve upon, time being one of them, profitability being another. And so with this system, we've been able to buy back time. So I don't have to work as hard calling the leads. And when I do get a hold of the leads, it's not like I'm stepping on other agents' toes. So I get, right to the point of, hey, you filled this out. Do you remember? And they say, yes. Perfect. Now we, shake hands and do the whole thing from there. So it's a much
Cool.
simpler, streamlined process now. And it's, saved a ton of time.
So just as far as from a standpoint of like, it looks like your spend has been about the same. And it looks like even though your total lead flow might be a slight bit less than what you were accustomed to prior to starting with us, to say it looks like based on your numbers that you gave me that your overall levels of profitability have improved. So talk to me a little bit about just like your experience working with us in terms of, lead quality, the receptiveness of the leads, how it's impacted your time on the phone dialing and just overall kind of quality of life.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So profitability, absolutely amazing. I'm really, really happy with that. Just in the fact that I have so much less time I have to dump into dialing and also setting appointments. The pre-books have been incredible. As a single mom coming in to a Monday fully booked full of appointments saves me the entire front end time of loading up your schedule, which is enough for most people to clear up an entire day. And so that has, I essentially, as an experienced agent, I can work a lot less and still make more. And I think that for certain people probably wouldn't be the right recipe for, the first taste of greatness. But if you're going to come into this business and be that profitable and be able to buy your time back, that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. So at the same time, if you can come in and work these leads and like them and be profitable, and that's schedule you set up for yourself is to not work as hard, by all means, you get to do that now. And I'm at that point. So I'm really, really grateful for that I get to spend more time with my son and less time working.
So you feel like you just have a little bit more control over your schedule. You don't have to necessarily grind out at quite as long hours in terms of, doing quite as much as you had to before to be able to write the amount of business that you want to write.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
What would you say as far as, kind of, exclusivity is a big thing in our industry, right? People always tout exclusive leads. What's your experience been like as far as just that in terms of, have you run into issues with, oh my gosh, I've been called 100 times, or like when you're calling these leads, do you find that they're more receptive than maybe some of the other types of leads you've worked in the past?
More receptive than any other type of lead I worked in the past. Absolutely. They know exactly what you're talking about. Even if it's been months behind, I have agents that I pass old leads to, they still remember it. We still make sales off those. No, it's been amazing. And yeah, like you mentioned, we're used to an industry where that happens very, very often. And now it's more so flipped. When I run into somebody who's already spoken with someone, it's more like, oh, well, that's weird. So it does happen occasionally, but it's more so because people are continuing to look, and that does tend to happen every once in a while. So
cool. Yeah. I mean, so I'm looking at your numbers. Like I said, profitability looks like it's up quite a bit. I mean, being in the neighborhood of said, still around that $4,000 a month in outlay, but now you don't have all of the ancillary costs of travel and driving around and gas, all that stuff. And it looks like you're writing more business, so that your overall net profitability is up quite a bit from the numbers you share with me, up about 200% from 4 to about 600 to 650% ROI versus in terms of what you spend on a monthly basis. What's been, I'd say, the biggest impact for you just in terms of your overall, I guess, business and life, if you had to kind of sum it up in a sentence or two?
Yeah, just being able to provide for my family still and not feeling like I have to slave away. Essentially we came to this business to not be slaves to the system. And so I think those first couple of years putting in that grind can feel that way, which is totally fine. Nothing worth having comes easy. So we were willing to put in that work. But now it feels good to feel rewarded and be able to make the amount of money that we make in probably half the time.
Oh, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I tell you, Aaron and I talk about this a lot. Like, it's something when we started this platform, like it was never really with the intention of providing a bunch of, leads and whatnot to agents. It was something we did for ourselves, because we were in the field and we, like you said, knew there had to be a better way. And we had a lot of experience, obviously, in the past running traffic for some of our other businesses. It's like, why don't we just apply this to life insurance? And to have someone like you come in who, I know you have your child, and to be able to kind of put you in a position, help you get to a position where you've got greater quality of life, you can spend more time with your family. It warms my heart to know that things have been able to improve for you, and that you've gotten benefit to not only, like I said, make more money, but kind of the purpose of making all that money is to provide for your family and be able to have the time with them. So it makes me really happy, Tori, to hear that working with us has had that type of impact on you.
It
So
really has, guys. I'm very, very grateful from the bottom of my heart. My son thanks you too. He doesn't know that yet, but one day he will. Because it's bought me so much time that, maybe a year or two ago I was sacrificing, like you said, driving in the field, getting no showed, calling people just to get told that you've already talked to 10 people.
yeah,
So it's a much different circumstance now, and I've really enjoyed the business.
that's great. All right. Well, I guess I'll close with this. And this is a question I always like to ask towards the end of the interview. I mean, there's a lot of agents out there that, a lot of times there's trepidation to try new things because they've been burned in the past, or, there's maybe apprehension, going through, when you look at your experience, if somebody was on the fence and they were looking at options as far as alternative lead sources, or wanting to be able to get themselves in a position where they maybe have more control over their lead flow, being able to not only adjust the budget up or down, but know that they're getting truly exclusive leads. If there was someone that was kind of looking at potentially working with us and was kind of on the fence, what would you, I guess, based on your experience, say to that person? In how would you kind of instruct them to proceed?
I would say to do it sooner rather than later. I waited on it for about 6 months to a year, watching my colleagues join and wishing I had sooner, listening to the time they had, the money they were making, and just the exclusive leads. And I didn't really believe it at first until I started calling the leads. So that would be my advice: is if you're thinking about it, just do it. You're in this industry and you need leads. So you know that you're either going to call really crappy leads for a long time, or you're going to find a good, pile of leads that you don't have to call that long. And this is really, really it. You won't find a better lead source. I've been in the leads for three lead games, 3 years. I've tried everything, and I love these leads. So thank you guys again.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you, Tori. I really appreciate your just taking a few minutes with us today to kind of share your experience. Like I said, it makes me really happy to hear that, we've been able to help you and impact you in such a positive way. So again, thank you. Thank you so much for your time today, and taking a few minutes to chat with me and share everything. It is much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you guys too.
All right, guys, that's Tori Haskell. We'll catch up with you all again very, very soon, with another interview. You guys have a great day. Talk soon. Thanks.